first 100 days has become some benchmark for judging the vision of a new government or a new president and all of that. But prior to the 2024 elections, President Mahama decided to go with the concept of 120 days, or he introduced that, where he clearly outlined bold visions for his first 120 days and what we call the social contract. Yes, like you said, after he was sworn in as president, the document became very popular because people were waiting for the 120th day to see whether or not what we promised he could deliver. And it's important for us because in this modern era of our politics, trust has become an important currency. Prior to the election 2024, in all the researches or surveys that we conducted, we realized that there were a number of Ghanaians, especially the youth, who said they were indifferent about politics because they didn't trust politicians. There were a number of people who were not willing to go out to vote because they had zero confidence, zero trust in politicians. And so, even as a political party, we recognized that it was important for us to fulfill this 120-day social contract in order to earn the trust and the confidence of the Ghanaian people. So even within our own circles, we were putting pressure on government. I recall about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had a meeting where people questioned at the meeting why the code of conduct at the time was not launched or outlawed and all of that. So the Honorable Felix Ozukwachi provided, the updates that there was a committee working on it, and now we have seen it. And so it tells you that even within the NDC, we were interested in ensuring that the 120-day social contract was fulfilled in order to earn the trust of the Ghanaian people. 120 days was Wednesday, and we can say confidently that we are very impressed with the performance of the president and of the government. And to some of us, President Mahama has over-delivered. And so if you ask me to score him for the 120-day social contract, I will tell you that he earned more than 100%, because clearly there were a number of things that were not promised, but he delivered them. And everything that he promised in the 120 days, as far as I am concerned, and we can go through all the 25 promises, and I can tell you that we over-delivered. Of course, yes, there are a number of them that requires legislation. And so for some of them, you are waiting for Parliament to resume, because Parliament has been on recess for more than a month now, to resume for the proper or appropriate legislations to be passed.
So will you consider that an achievement? The fact that Parliament is not there,
because you see the executive. So if, for example, I promise that I will introduce a legislation, we all know the processes for getting a legislation passed. So if the executive does its part, I think that the executive must be commended. And so when you go through all the promises, for example, he promised to nominate within the first 14 days the complete list of cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval. That was done. Before the 14th day, all cabinet ministers were announced and all of them have gone through vetting. He promised to constitute the leanest and the most efficient government within the first 90 days. As we speak today, since 1992, or in this Fourth Republic, we have never had a government run with only 56 ministers and deputies, including regional ministers. In fact, when we won the elections, there were many, even within the NDC, that thought that it was impossible to run a government with only 60 ministers, including the regional ministers. And I tell you that even President Mahama at a point, he had a meeting with us as MPs. He said, even people came to him and asked him to get back to Ghanaians and say the 60 did not include regional ministers, just to make way for some other systems. But he said, look, the Ghanaian people voted for us because they believed that we could do it. And so As difficult as it was, as we speak, he's running the government with only 56 ministers, including regional ministers. That for me is an achievement. And the presidency, the number of presidential staffers appointed, and how the government is running, I can tell you that this is the most efficient and this is the leanest government that can ever be run by any government. In fact, since 1992, and that's what we are running with. And yet the government is delivering. The economy is improving. We'll get to all of that.